What's up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine. Today we're taking a look at this. This is the ZowieTek. It is the 4K PTZ camera, 25x camera, and we're going to open it up and take a look at it next on Geekazine. What's up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers here from Geekazine. Think Magazine put into geek. You got me over at geekazine.com, youtube.com/Geekazine. Today we're taking a look at this. This is the ZowieTek 4K PTZ camera. I'm a big fan of PTZ cameras because I am a one-man shop. I love the fact that I can zoom in, zoom out, and get the shot that I really am looking for when I'm unboxing or taking a first look at some of these videos. Plus, I go out and I record bands. And so PTZ cameras become very vital to getting some really good shots, some good close-ups. And when the lead singer moves that way, you can kind of move with him. We're going to unbox this and we're going to set this up. First of all, I do have to say that ZowieTek did give me product to review, but they're not sponsoring this video. All opinions are of my own. I have a review section over at geekazine.com/review that you can go through to find out all those policies and procedures. And if you want me to review something of yours, all you have to do is contact me and we'll get it sent over. All right, let's go ahead and open up this guy and see what we've got with the ZowieTek 4K PTZ camera. Like this, up, and oh, there's a couple different opens, and there's the top, as you can see. Let's go ahead and take this off. We've got basic guides right there. We've got a standard remote control. Figure out what type of batteries it takes. This is a mounting plate. So if you want to mount it on a wall or a ceiling, you have this right here. We've got the mounting screws and anchors and everything like that. We'll take out this and we'll be a little bit careful because now we're getting down to the PTZ camera. Looks like over here, we've got some cords. This is the cord to the joystick. We'll set that there. Next up is a power cord. I can't see what I'm pulling out. we got more cords here. This is the actual plug that you'll want and keep close to this. And then finally, let's go ahead and we're going to do this a little bit different. Let's go ahead and bring this down like this. Slide this out. There we go. There's the ZowieTek camera. Let's get the box out of the way. You can use this for things like going in the conference room or anything like that. If you need like Zoom calls or Teams calls or whatever. Let's take a look at everything that this camera has to offer. Well, this is the 4Tek NDI PTZ camera. There are 3 different versions available. A 12X, that's the zoom, the optical zoom, 12X, 18X, and 25X. This is supposed to be the 25X, but we'll find out as we go because it didn't say on the box. It has a back illuminated and stacked 2.3-inch sensor at 8 megapixel. It basically means that the image sensor is a resolution of 8 megapixels. It does HDMI, it does SDI, RTSP, RTMP, and SRT, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. IP live streaming, so you can just connect this up to YouTube or Facebook from the camera and stream from there. There's going to be a web page that you'll call up that will allow you to do all that. It's got a built-in tally light, so you know when this thing is turned on, and of course it's joystick compatible. All right, let's go ahead and get up close and take a look at the camera itself. As you can see, pretty straightforward camera. We see nothing on the side. We look at the back of the camera. There is a little bit of a vent here. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. There's a little bit of a vent here. So if you are doing outdoor work with these cameras, you'll want to protect it as best as possible. On the front here, we'll have a power light. Looks like we have a couple different microphone holes. If you want to use the audio coming from the device right here, we have the status. That's your tally light right here. And then, like I said, there'll be a power light up here. We have a lens cap on this. Let's go ahead and take that off. Standard camera style lens cap. And there is a light above this. I think this is a status, and this might be the tally light. There's nothing on the sides. As you can see, on the bottom here, just flip this around, we have our 1/4-inch mount for a tripod, shoe mount, or whatever. And then, of course, another vent. So you'll want to keep that pretty well cleared out. If you're using these different mounts, they'll mount up fairly easy. It looks like we need to get some sort of 1/4-inch screw to use this mount, of course. And then, of course, if we use the plate, we could put it on like so. But of course, let's take a look at everything that we have in the back. We'll go from left to right here. We'll start with the DC 12 volt. We've got LAN, SDI. So if you're running your videos SDI versus HDMI, you can do that, or HDMI. The best part about this is you can actually use SDI and HDMI at the same time. You can use NDI and SDI at the same time. There's also the USB port right there, which you can connect it up to a computer via USB. You can also use the RS-232. There's a cable that you get with it, but you'll definitely need to get a joystick if you use this. It has an in and an out. So that means if you have more than one camera, you can plug this cable into the joystick into here, and this cable into the second PTZ camera. These are for serial remote control. And then, of course, if we have an external audio jack, like a microphone or audio system, we can plug it in from there. All right, with that said and that done, we're going to go ahead and connect up this camera. I'll connect it up HDMI, but I will have the Ethernet cable in to see how I can control this through the network. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at how the Zowie 4K PTZ camera will work inside of the interface. And basically, you go to the IP address and boom, there you are in the live area. As you can see there, you also have the setting area and the logout option. So let's go over to the settings and let's see what we've got here. Now, if you've got NDI set up in the camera, you will see the NDI says on, if you're using it, of course. The CPU is showing us how much we've got utilized right now. And then, of course, the memory inside. Keep in mind, you can actually create scenes. So the camera is all you need for sports game or anything like that. So we've got all our IP information and everything like that, all the stats right here. Let's go ahead and go into the camera. So let's take a look at the image part. This is where we can start setting everything up, which you can also do at that front page in the live area. So, but we can dial in on the focus a little bit more. Focus is auto, high sensitivity, center zone. So anything in the middle right there will get focused, but you can definitely change that out to the bottom or whatnot. So you could be in blur, but your product is focused in. If you hit the defaults, that's all the defaults right there. If you lock it, that means that it's not going to focus after that, of course. We got the zoom, which pretty much very similar settings here. So we can zoom in out, speed of the zoom. Let's bring it a little bit faster. Going over exposure, we got the AE lock if you have it set. We don't have it set. We have it set to auto, but we can do a manual. There is no one push button push here. So you have SAE and AAE for checking. We've got manual setup. So let's set up the gain here. Let's see what we got. We've got a shutter of 1 by 120. If we're recording 60 frames a second, then you want to have multiples of 60. So 120, 180 for that. If we go to, let's just say 60 frames a second, that should brighten us up so we have less gain. Right about there looks good. And then, of course, we've got the iris. We can go full f11 iris all the way down to 1.6. So that, of course, that makes it brighter. I always like to stay around the 2 to 2.4 to 2.8 area. So that looks good. Next is color. We've got one push color, auto, manual, and vario. We'll go auto. There you go. It looks pretty good. Of course, I'd need to put a color card here just to make sure, but we can do this. Maybe I just don't like as much blue, so I'll turn that down and I'll look fairly green. Maybe I just like this to be like nuclear look. So there we go. We can turn up the saturation up to 100%. We can turn it down to black and white if we want to. And then, of course, we can play with the hue. Let's hit the default, and then it's going to go back to auto. We'll go over to image, so we can brighten up the image. We can darken the image, as you can see, put it in the middle. Same thing with contrast, sharpness. We can make this super sharp, but I don't recommend that because I don't know if you're seeing it, but it's very grainy right now. And so let's hit that at the default, and we should be good to go here. We got the NR. This is Okay, so what happened there was it flipped the horizontal vertical because my camera is actually sitting upside down. Now, there is an auto mode on here. So basically what happens is you flip it vertical, upside down, whatever, it will reorientate to what you need. But you can turn it on and off, and that's what I accidentally did when I hit the default here for the brightness, contrast, sharpness. I did the flip mode to auto, and it took a second, then it flipped. From here, you can do a horizontal flip, you can do a vertical flip, you can do a horizontal and vertical flip, which is what we're on right now, or once again, auto. So if I hit disable right now, that should flip it around. Right now it's frozen, but what it'll do is it'll flip it around, and it's not using the sensors, but I can manually say horizontal video flip, which means no matter what it's in, it's always going to be in this position. All right. And this is basically for digital clarity. The higher you have the 2D and 3D set up, the more grainy it will look. So if we set this to 8 and we set this to 8, I don't know how well you can see that. Let's go full screen so you can see that. It looks pixelated or whatever, but if you're trying to really focus in on something and try and make it look as best as possible, you might not have choice. I usually have this set to about 2 and 3, which is about default. And that will help with the digital correction. Then, of course, we have the style area. If you want the default style, we want a little bit more clarity. If you want beauty, if you want, you can change that all from there. So we're going to set that to default and leave that as it is. We got the PTZ, which gives us the PTZ settings, how we want the Visca camera set up. I can use my Stream Deck to actually control this. Inside Companion, I am using the Sony Visca protocol to control this camera, and it works. Maybe someday Zowie will have their own PTZ camera protocol. Maybe they do, and I just haven't found it yet. If they do, let me know in the comments below for sure. All right, so you can set all your PTZ cameras there, and you have motion sync if you want to. We got the tally lights, so you can enable the tally lights. The tally light is not on, but we can enable it and disable it from there. We can say we want it auto or we want it as tally. And then when we go to manual, we can say we want the light red, and now that light is red. We want the light green, and now that light is green, or we want the light off. However you want your tally light to look, basically. We'll go over to video here. We've got our encoder. This is how we're going to send out, not the HDMI or SDI, but how we're sending it out to the network, because this does connect up to Ethernet. It does connect up to wireless, and you can send this out single camera of a sports event, of a band or whatever. You can send it out. You can record it onto the device as well. You can do a secondary stream if you've got the bandwidth to do so. So you have multiple options there, which is great. Output. We have output set to 4K right now, but you can bring it down to 1080p, 30 frames a second, all the way up to 4K, 30 frames a second. And you can also mute the audio if you wanted to. Speaking of audio, we're going to skip this for a second. We'll go over to audio. If you've got a microphone set up for this thing, you can then enable the audio settings and adjust the settings. So when it's streaming out, they're going to get the audio sound. Maybe you're hooking up to a soundboard for a band. Maybe you're hooking up to a microphone for a baseball game or something like that. Those audio settings will work for that. Let's go back in the video. Let's show you the OSD thing. Now, this is actually really cool. This kind of makes this camera really functional. And there's Zowiebox and the PTZ camera both have this. And I talked about this with the Zowiebox. You can add different graphics to your video. So let's bring in the live video. Unfortunately, with 4K, what it does is it shrinks it down here. You're going to just have to imagine the box full screen. I can bring in a scoreboard, for example. So we can add a scoreboard. Let's say we've got, let's call this the Geeks, and we want to scale this. We're going to confirm that. And now we have the scoreboard of the Geeks ready to go. There's the scoreboard up on the corner here. Let's bring this down here, and we can change the size if we wanted to by going back into scoreboard. And this page that we're looking at right now can be accessed on a phone. It can be accessed on a computer. and it can be direct connected to the Wi-Fi if you have that set up. You come into this page, and then you can just change all the score as it's going. So if Team A is racking up the points, you can set that down. That's the scoreboard. Like I said, we can make it bigger if we wanted to. But let's bring in some text. So we're going to type in some basic text here. We can do text or time if we want to. Let's do time. And so we'll have a date format. We'll bring it a little bit bigger, and then we'll confirm that. We'll take the size to 72, so it's a nice big one. And that is right there. And there's the time in the corner here. And if we want to edit that, we can definitely do that. Take that out just by hitting the I. Same thing with the scoreboard. So when it streams out, you'll have a scoreboard. You'll have graphics. You could put an overlay bug on the bottom corner or anything like that. All right, it's not showing it here, but if I go over here, we have the scoreboard. We have the time up there. You're seeing it directly from the camera using RTSP. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now, you know that's there. With this test one highlighted, that means that the graphic's there, but once I get rid of it, we'll go back over there and it's gone. So bring it back in and take it back out. So you can have that easy, just one button option, or you can go into the setting and change it through the video OSD here to bring it in and take it out. So it's really cool to bring some graphics in for some simple graphics for whatever you need. If you're just bringing one camera to do as much as you can. Keep in mind that the camera does not have a battery to it, so you'll have to be able to plug it in somehow or use an external battery. We showed you the audio. Let's show you the streaming part. You can do local streaming, RTSP, which is what I just did, or SRT if you have a device that can bring in video via SRT. We can do live, so I can set up and hit add, and then I can bring in RT. I can set up RTMP and bring it in through the live stream. I can do record. No memory card in here found, so we're not going to be able to record here. But I can also do NDI, which is what my shop normally is all NDI. So if I look for it, I see it as Zowie PTZ 23042, which I could change the device name if I wanted to. And I can also do the multicast IP if I have that all set up. For the network, really straightforward. You got your LAN, you can set up as a hotspot. Like I said, if you want to be able to run the scoreboard from a computer, you'd set this up as a hotspot for that. WLAN for Wi-Fi. You can set up ports. You can do MDNS like I have. If I do ZowieTek on a browser, that's going to open it right up. And of course, you can set this up for NAS recording. So if your video just goes straight to the NAS, and then you can edit from there later. System, we got several different system options. The primary color we can set up a primary color, a theme if we wanted to. There's the dark theme, there's the light theme, which I kind of like the dark theme better. So we'll save that. We can do Xbox controls, which means if you got an Xbox controller, you can connect it up to this thing and run the PTZ that way. Working mode, we can set it as host or to device. That's the USB. So let's say you have the USB hooked up to a computer and you want to save your files. If you've got NDI, you activate it here. User information, I can set usernames and passwords. Let's say Bob's doing the scoreboard. We can set him up with a profile, and then he can run the scoreboard. If he never does it again, can take Bob right out of here. So time, we'll set up our time protocol. Default options, upgrade options for firmware and everything like that. And then, of course, the logs. If there's any problems, it's going to be in here. And that's it. We go back to live streaming. We're back here, and we can do all the functionality from here. There's the PTZ options. We've got some presets already set up. We can turn on our graphics. I don't know why that just did that. Oh, because I changed the exposure for some reason. We could bring in those graphics and take them off, and keep in mind they are working. But there is one other function I want to show you here, and that's down in the corner here. We can put on graph lines so you can set a person into those corners. We can do the joystick. We can create a virtual joystick or a horizontal joystick or a vertical. So that means I can go this way and this way with the horizontal, but I can never go up and down. If I want to be a little bit more precise in the movement, as you can see, I can do that, or I can switch that to vertical joystick, and that'll only bring it up and down, but not left or right. And then, of course, we can choose it to automatic joystick. We can bring in our meters. We can add the audio, remove the audio. We can bring in our audio meters so you can see them. We can then go full screen if you wanted to. Simple as that. So you have some functionality down here. You can play with those and see what's happened. But that is the whole interface for Zowie 4K PTZ camera. Let's get into some pros and cons with this. I've run this for a little while now. I've done some shows with it. Most of the shows I run are 1080p, but I did do this in 4K. I did live stream single camera to YouTube, and it did a decent job. I was able to create the event, stream it out, put on the graphics, not a problem. There are some quirks with the graphics. It's basic graphics, but if you don't want to bring in any other computers, or you want to focus on having the tablet or the computer as the scoreboard, switching back and forth, this is perfect for that. As you saw, there were a couple places that were kind of odd, the one that flipped the horizontal and vertical, because I just hit a default button. Keep that in mind so you know exactly where to go to fix that. There's also a remote control that you can fix. If with all that said and done, I'm going to flip over to that camera right now, and I'm going to show you the difference, what we have set here, because we do have it set. As you can see, we've got the exposure at auto. We have the AE lock unlocked. We could have locked it, but we decided not to. I added a +2 to the EV. It only goes +3, -3. Autofocus is at autofocus lock. And of course, I have white balance set to auto. But those are the 4 options right there. With that said, with that done, this is the camera that I've been talking through right here. And now I'm going to go over to this camera and show you the look. A little bit darker. Need to do a little bit more tweaking to it to make it happen. But of course, if you can't see it, then if I hit the button, it's going to turn off. But the tally light is red, showing me that I am active on this camera. That is the Zowie 4K PTZ. It's green, by the way, because it's telling me that the camera is connected up. But once it turns red, that means it's active. That is the ZowieTek 4K camera for your needs, whether it be for sports, whether it be for plays, whether it be for anything like that. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below over at Geekazine.com, youtube.com/Geekazine, where you can like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you know when the next video comes out. Until next time, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. You guys geek out and PTZ on.